Sodium fluoride, the compound many have pointed out is in rat poison, isn't used anymore. So shit, there goes the eugenics conspiracy.
Actually, sodium fluoride is still used as fluoride tablets. It's also used in water fluoridation, but infrequently as it is more expensive than the other fluoride compounds. But it is easier to handle and is usually used by smaller utility companies. Either way, the source of the fluoride doesn't matter, as it all ends up as fluoride ions, exactly the same as the naturally occurring fluoride ions in water.
The first is the Harvard School of Public Health. Impact of fluoride on neurological development in children. This meta-study looked at 27 studies in China where naturally occurring fluoride levels in water are very high. The study found a drop in IQ equivalent to 7 points. The researchers concluded with, the results support the possibility of an adverse effect of high fluoride exposure on children's neurodevelopment. Future research should include detailed, individual-level information on prenatal exposure, neurobehavioral performance, and covariance for adjustment. They indicated additional research is needed, and a follow-up study was just released last month.
The Harvard study used 27 studies in obscure Chinese journals. Some of the papers were translated by the activist group Fluoride Action Network. Fluoride levels in these studies were up to 11.5 parts per million. The studies used had key information missing. They used questionable methodologies and inadequate controls. These studies were flawed, and that lead researchers issued a statement saying that these results do not allow us to make any judgment regarding possible levels of risk at levels of exposure typical for water fluoridation in the US. On the other hand, neither can it be concluded that no risk is present. However, a new study from 2014 titled Community Water Fluoridation and Intelligence Prospective Study in New Zealand used data from the Dunedin Multidisciplinary Study, which is world-renowned for the quality of its data, and found no significant differences in IQ by fluoride exposure. It controlled for all factors that might influence scores. Harvard released a statement on water fluoridation saying, "We continue to support community water fluoridation as an effective and safe public health measure for people of all ages."
It's titled Association of Lifetime Exposure to Fluoride and Cognitive Functions in Chinese Children, a pilot study. The abstract was released on the National Institute of Health's website. The full text isn't available to everyone, but the published conclusion is a bit ominous. This pilot study in a community with stable lifetime fluoride exposure supports the notion that fluoride in drinking water may produce development neurotoxicity, and that the dose dependence underlying this relationship needs to be characterized in detail. That sounds pretty scary, so we opened our wallets and obtained the full study, where we confirmed that the fluoride levels in much of the Chinese well water studied were compatible with the levels of fluoride added to municipal water in the US. And they concluded, we are planning a large-scale study to better understand the dose-effect relationships for fluoride's developmental neurotoxicity in order to characterize the appropriate means of avoiding neurotoxic risks while securing oral health benefits.
Ignoring that, this pilot study has several acknowledged weaknesses. The study had fluoride levels up to 4.07 parts per million, which is about 4 times the optimal level. The study did not show any association with neurophysiological tests with fluoride concentration in drinking water, but it did find an association with medium and severe dental fluorosis. This is consistent with the physical anomaly of severe dental fluorosis being the real cause of IQ effects and not any direct consequence of chemical toxicity. The study showed that those who were on 1 part per million fluoridated water did not have moderate or severe fluorosis. Other studies, like the 2009 New Zealand Oral Health Survey, also saw very little difference between fluoridated and non-fluoridated areas. Any increase in fluorosis due to community water fluoridation would be in the very mild to mild fluorosis range, which has no effect on appearance, form, or function of teeth, and studies have demonstrated mildly fluorosed teeth to be more decay resistant.
But there's exaggerated bullshit on the other side. The notion that the lifetime cost of one decayed tooth is over $6,000 is absurd, and that's certainly strong bullshit.
You have called the Pew Charitable Trust's lifetime molar costs bullshit without giving any reasons. The data they used was from Delta Dental of California. An average molar filled as a child will have more than 4 treatments done over the person's lifetime. Most fillings will last on average 10 to 15 years, and subsequent treatments will become more expensive and more extensive. Each filling is a little bit bigger than the last, with a cusp snapping off, and the dentist says the crown is needed. If the nerve dies, it's either an extraction or a root canal. Costs can very easily skyrocket.
Based on the huge body of evidence, we were prepared to conclude that the health benefits of fluoridated water outweigh the risks. But that just recently study from Harvard was our tipping point. Repeatable results that fluoride in water reduces IQs in children, even when it's within recommended levels of fluoride in drinking water. Based on this weeks-old study that focused much more than cavity prevention in children, it's probably time to put a halt to adding fluoride to municipal water supplies. Brain health is far more important than dental health, especially in children.
Everyone would agree that brain health is important, but the evidence is not there. There are no studies to show harm at the recommended levels of 0.7 to 1 part per million. There have been 17 major peer reviews of fluoridation undertaken across the world by recognised academic authorities in the past 20 years, many looking at the same IQ studies that the Harvard study looked at, all showing the safety and efficiency of fluoridation. There is no respected health organisation that is against fluoridation. Recently, dental leaders, representing over 1 million dentists in 134 countries at the annual meeting of the World Dental Federation, reaffirmed their strong support for fluoridation as essential in promoting oral health. We at Making Sense of Fluoride hope to see next level bullshit stick with the scientific consensus. After all, real harm is done without community water fluoridation. Dental decay remains the single most prevalent, common, chronic and irreversible disease of all ages, and disparities still exist in oral health. Consequences include pain, infection, bad breath, impaired chewing ability, tooth loss, compromised appearance of teeth, decreased quality of life, and to top it off, high financial costs, as well as the more indirect costs to society as a whole.